Hi, this is an instructional video on how to put your rangefinders together. The rangefinders are tools that you're going to use to analyze your clients, and you'll want them to be done right the first time because you're going to rely upon these and want them to hold up well. In your kit, which you have received or will receive, you'll receive a roll of heavy-duty double-stick carpet tape, a set of 7 boards with labels on them, and a bundle of fabric swatches. Also, there'll be some printed instructions in your kit as well. The video will help explain the written instructions a little bit better so you won't make any mistakes. Some of the students have not interpreted the instructions correctly and have put their boards together wrong, and then they don't hold up, and it's very hard to backtrack on repairing them if they're not done right the first time. So this is what you're going to do. You're going to create boards that have swatches that cover the entire length of the board, and those swatches come in this bundle. There'll be a white paper band around the bundle, and you'll remove that large outer white paper band to reveal 7 smaller bundles that are wrapped inside, each with their own small paper band around them. But do not remove the paper bands around each little bundle until you're working on that particular bundle. Each of the rangefinder boards has a label on it like that, and you're going to apply the swatches to the opposite side. Now, the first board that I've picked up here says water. Now, I notice that none of these bundles say the word water on them, but I see right under the word water that it says deep and shaded with black. Now, as I go through these bundles, I find that there's one called shaded. That would be the right bundle for this board. So I'll put all the other swatches aside, all the other boards aside, and I'm going to work just on the one board at a time, as you will do as well. Then I will be able to open up this little bundle, remove the band, but I'm going to be very careful to keep the swatches in the same sequence they are stacked, because that is the correct sequence for laying out the swatches on the board. Every bundle will be in a sequence that has all neutrals at one end and reds on the other end. Now, whether you put all reds on this end or on this end doesn't matter, as long as all the reds land on one end and all the neutrals on the other. There are varying numbers of swatches in each bundle. That means that when laid end on end, that they're going to cover different amounts of area, depending on how many swatches there are. So it will require you to overlap them slightly, as I'm doing now, as I'm showing you now, in order for them to go the exact length of the board. I'm having to overlay them a little bit. All right. Now I got that to go right to the end of the board. Had I laid them end to end or butted them edge to edge, they would have come out somewhere to here. But I've overlapped them by a little bit here. And this, you can consider this like a dry run to see about how much you're going to have to overlap your swatches, depending on how many there are in the particular bundle you're working on. Something else you'll notice is that the swatches will frequently have some frayed edges or hanging threads, and if that's the case, trim them off nice and neat before you work with them. Now, you might think, well, I see they're all laid out here, and I get that there's this double-faced tape, and all I have to do is put a piece of double-faced tape on the board and boom, 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 lay them on. But that's not how it's done, and it can't be done that way. The reason it cannot be done that way is because these swatches are overlapped, and the overlapped part would not be held down with anything. Only the part touching the tape on the board would be. So you have now an overlapped part of the fabric that is going to stick up a little, eventually curl up, and make your boards look unkempt, and also make them subject to wear and tear, and eventually the swatches will come off. So this is not going to be as easy as just laying them end on end on your double stick tape. So now you're going to pull off from your roll of tape a strip of tape that's about 36 inches long, because that's about how much you need to lay these swatches on the tape end to end the long way. You have to put them on end to end the long way because the swatches are actually wider than the tape is. So you can't lay them this way. You have to lay them this way. So you will lay your swatches starting at the top on your tape, butting it up to one of the long ends of the tape, and then you'll lay the next one directly underneath it, like that, and leaving just a little tiny space that you'll be able to cut each swatch apart. Notice now this is sticking right to my finger. This is really sticky tape, and it does make it kind of hard to work with. Even when you're cutting away the extra tape from your swatches, the tape will stick to your scissors. There is a backing on each swatch, although you might encounter one or two swatches that have no backing, but that's all right. But most of them will have a backing. And this, for instance, is a masking tape backing. And I can see here that it's started to come away from the fabric. So if you discover that in your swatches, take a glue stick and glue that fabric back down to that backing. You want that backing to be firmly stuck to the fabric. Don't use a wet glue that might penetrate through the fabric, because that will stain the fabric and make a mark on the surface. The glue stick is a good glue to use with fabric. Alright, so I have done that. Something else, again, is to trim the threads so that each swatch is nice and neat. So you're going to lay those out there. Once they're all backed with your self-adhesive tape, you're going to peel the backing off so that you can apply it to the board. It's kind of hard to get that backing off, the layer that protects the other adhesive side. I find the best way to do it, to pry it away, is to use either a pair of pointed tweezers or a pin to get that backing up at a corner and pull it off. Then you will lie them on the board, overlapping them as you did up here, and covering the entire board. If they overlap, if the swatch overlaps the board a little bit on one end, that's okay, because you can always come along and trim off any excess with scissors at the end. But try not to have any white showing. That's important. You don't want to have any white showing. If you have a swatch that's so short that white does show, make sure if there's a second one on the same board that does that the white is on the same edge, so that at least one edge will have a clean edge with no white showing. That'll be very important. Allow about half an hour for each of these boards, and bring these to class, and I look forward to seeing you. And that's it. Okay.